welcome. And I want to welcome my guest, Ted Collins, who has delighted us with his presence. And I'm so delighted to have you here. Ted, thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me.
Indeed. And I'm going to read you just a little bit about Ted. I know he's got a really long bio, but he's going to tell us a little bit more about himself in just a minute. So, Ted is a seasoned entrepreneur and a strategist with over 25 years of experience developing business plans and relationships for both startup and established businesses. He's passionate about creating sustainable, long-term strategies, both for profit and nonprofit organizations. He's got strong management skills and focuses on delivering actionable results within established times and budgetary parameters. His specialties, strategy and business development, interdisciplinary project management, and languages. He speaks English, Spanish, German, Portuguese, and French. Oh, this is going to be interesting.
So that's my LinkedIn profile that you just read through. So it's kind of sanitized. Hopefully I'll sound more human after this interview.
I know. I only do that just to get a little bit of an outline, and you're going to fill us in for us. Okay, so this is Under the Hood, and the way that this was established was several years ago. I did a TEDx talk, and it was part of my talk, getting under the hood of what actually makes people tick. So this is business oriented, and it's also the human capital side of things that people frequently don't talk about. So the first question, Ted, that I have for you is that patterns that are created in childhood impact us as grown-ups. So share with us a little bit about your background, your history, and sort of the core values and the things that you established or had to look at, which we'll get to that in a minute, that have led you to this wonderful success.
So I had a great childhood. I wanted for nothing. Both of my parents are surgeons, which means that I come from a very high achieving family. It also means that there was a bit of perfectionism that was kind of running. It was a through line in our house because, as you know, surgeons really have to get it right 100% of the time. So they held that standard for us as well, which was a little stifling. But I was a pretty good kid and a very good student, so they didn't have to ride me that much. One of the things that I think is true for a lot of African American families is, the generational trauma that we have experienced just being in this country for all these years has led to some baggage that gets passed on from generation to generation. And one of those things is, you have to work twice as hard for half as much.
Yes.
So that was always in the back of my head that, I was not going to get a fair shot. And then there's also the idea that I needed to present well because I was a representative of my family and of Black people in general.
Yes.
So that, I didn't carry that like heavily on my shoulders, but I kind of wore it as kind of like a
sort of as those things just kind of get woven into the fabric of who we are. These things, these messages, right?
That's right.
That's what I'm hearing you say, right?
Exactly. And I was closeted even to myself until my 20s. But I always had a feeling that there was something different about me, aside from being Black in a predominantly white environment. And there's a phenomenon that was coined by an author, therapist named Alan Downs. He wrote a book called The Velvet Rage, and he talks about the best little boy in the world syndrome, which means that I have to overperform so that you can see that I'm worthy based on my achievements. Even though I didn't necessarily feel innately worthy, that just wasn't something. I based my self-worth on my achievements, and I was able to achieve. So I felt pretty good about myself. The other thing that I would say in terms of how my parents raised me, we weren't religious. I would say that there is a certain spirituality to the way in which they kind of nudged me to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't, they weren't writing me, they were just always giving me opportunities. And if I took advantage of that opportunity, they would give me another opportunity. If I didn't take advantage of it, like, well, then obviously that wasn't meant for you.
Mm-hmm.
So that really made me very grateful for the things that were put in front of me, and I was able to take advantage of them, kind of squeeze every last drop out of these different experiences that I had an opportunity to participate in.
Which were the ones that really kind of grabbed you, that lit you up? And which were the ones that you sort of like, not for me?
Oh, playing the violin was one of
Okay.
them. I kind of I, I was I started playing violin at 5, and
Mm-hmm.
I played until I was 15 or so.
Mm-hmm.
And then I spent the year in Spain when I was 16. And when I came back from Spain, I didn't pick the violin back up again, but I did start singing, and singing has been something that has really lit me up, both throughout my kind of late adolescence and early 20s, and then more recently, I picked it back up again, and it kind of feels like the missing piece spiritually for the thing that lights me up, as you say,
Yes. Yes.
and makes me feel like I'm part of something bigger than myself because I'm in a chorus.
I know. I
It's
am
really
too,
quite
and I
it's
love
quite
it.
powerful. Yeah, it's really powerful.
Yes.
It's humbling, and you kind of check your ego at the door when you walk into a chorus because it's not about you, it's about the
No.
group.
And the blending and all the other wonderful part of being that
Exactly.
group experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We have that very much in common.
hmm And the other opportunities that I feel like I took total like complete advantage of,
Mhm.
at least as much as I could at the time, were my undergrad at Harvard and then also my grad school at INSEAD. And so I spent, 4 years at Harvard, um, and then when I turned 30, in my 30th year, I spent a year in France at INSEAD getting my MBA, and it was such a great experience. People from 64 different countries,
Wow.
and we were all there for the same thing, and it just left me feeling a lot more connected internationally. I really feel
Mhm.
like I can go to pretty much any country and kind of hit up my network, and I'll be able to
Yes.
connect. So I feel
Yes.
very grateful for that.
And then these languages that you have, you must have an affinity for language and
Yeah,
sound, perhaps, and those kinds of things. Yes.
my mother takes credit for my linguistic and my mathematical capabilities
Yes.
because she
Yes.
started me on violin at 5. Um, yeah, there's apparently a connection kind of in terms of brain
There is
wiring,
definitely a connection. Um,
perception of nuance, etc. So, um, I, I spent my junior year in high school in Barcelona. I
uh-huh.
spent my junior year in college in Vienna,
Wow.
and then
I see.
I did my MBA in France. But I also, in my late mid 20s, launched a company in Brazil.
Wow.
So those are all different ways that I kind of was. I was forced to learn the
Immersed.
language by
You were
being. I was
immersed.
immersed.
Yes.
Exactly, and I mean, I would say that I can still speak most of them well, not as
Hmm.
well as I did when I kind of graduated from INSEAD, but um, it is a great feeling that that I can go to a country and show that I
Yes.
desire to connect with them in their language. Some
Yes.
countries they like that, they really like it. They're very complimented that you take that interest. Other countries, they don't necessarily. They think it's cute, and then they revert back to
Right.
English. So,
I won't say which one, but I have a feeling I think I might know. So, you had these wonderful, wonderful background, wonderful accomplishments. What were some of the patterns that didn't work so great for you? I mean, perfectionism, yes, is one that I find certainly with high achievers. Um,
yes.
I certainly have that vein.
hmm
And know a lot about it, and the experience of not achieving and what that feels like for a high achiever who has expectations for oneself. And somehow when that gap happens, it doesn't always feel so good. Right.
Yeah.
And yeah. So you tell me.
So, my perfectionism manifested in never being satisfied with myself. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Not in a way that I was beating myself up, but I could always do better. I was always pushing myself to do better. I was a great little corporate soldier when I worked at Bain and Company in the mid '90s.
Mm-hmm.
They asked me, what's your best quality, or why should we hire you? And I'm a perfectionist. They said, you're hired, because they knew that I would work those 80-hour weeks,
Yes.
and
Yes.
that I would, kind of spend the time needed to perfect whatever, document, strategy, approach we were working on. And I worked myself into the ground.
Yes. Yes.
So that didn't necessarily work. Um, it, it it worked for a while. It paid off in certain
Mm-hmm.
ways in my early career. In my personal life, perfectionism has not been a great thing, and I've had to let go of it, because who wants to be around somebody for whom nothing is ever good enough, you know?
Yes. Yes.
And that could extend to being critical of others,
Mm-hmm.
and that's no fun.
So how
Um,
did you sort of come to that realization? Kind of tell us a little story or something that would, um, because again, what I know about people who are in leadership positions, the ones that are really excel know themselves really well and have a willingness to say, oh, this doesn't work so great. Maybe I need to take a look at this. So what were some of the ways that you actually took a look at it, and what was your thinking about how you would need to change that? Because it's not an easy thing to let go. And that's the reason I asked it. It's not an easy thing to let go.
so my entire self-image was based on being the guy that could get things done, and
Mm-hmm.
that I was in control. you know
There you go.
And as I mentioned to you earlier, part of my journey is having to kind of press pause on my career around 40 and
Mm-hmm.
take some time to get sober and to get
Mm-hmm.
into recovery. And part
Mm-hmm.
of that journey included letting
There
go
you
of
go.
perfectionism and letting go of the idea that I was or could ever be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And that was such a relief. I'd
Yes.
never allowed myself to consider that before, or I'd never understood um, just the toxicity of having
Yes.
that as part
Yes.
of my
Yes.
uh, you know personal profile. you know
Right. Right. How
and
would you know?
so,
Right.
yeah, because everybody around me, very high achieving, growing up and going to these great schools, they were also perfectionists,
Mm-hmm.
um, or performed at a very high level, and I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be worthy and competitive, so I
Mm-hmm.
tried to do the same thing. But I didn't realize that um, I could also derive comfort and self-esteem from just being a good person, you know.
Yes.
Um,
Beautiful.
and that's part of what my recovery journey forced me
Mm-hmm.
to do, is
Yes.
to look at the person that I had become through all of the um, workaholism
Mm-hmm.
and partying
Mm-hmm.
and kind of smoke and mirrors, because I didn't really want to um, reveal myself fully to anybody.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and then all of the international travel that didn't really let me feel like I had a strong foundation, or home
Yes.
base. San
Mm-hmm.
Francisco is definitely home. I live in LA
Mm-hmm.
now, but my family is still in San Francisco, and my great friends are still in San Francisco. But I spent a lot of time elsewhere, and when
Mm-hmm.
I was elsewhere, I was possibly acting out, and then I'd come back to San Francisco and try to pretend like everything was okay. You know?
I could feel the struggle.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can feel
So
it.
having to look at myself and look at the patterns that led me to, this unhealthy lifestyle was
Mm-hmm.
really important for me. And I had what some people call a spiritual awakening,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that manifested itself in me trying to understand how I'm wired, to give myself some grace for my faults, to try to, actively be a better version of myself, um, and to try to give back to the community.
Beautiful.
And to try to, pause and, not make it all about me, but to connect to something outside of myself that can give me strength and purpose.
Beautiful. So thank you for that. Thank you for sharing. Because from my profession, I am a psychotherapist by training. I told you, and a teacher at heart.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been privileged to work with so many people and so many leaders and so many people who have to keep that facade kind of going, and some of the things that go on underneath. We're all in recovery, honestly, from from our experiences, from our childhood, from our biases, and we use that word. I use that word in a big way, because the kind of things that you have gone through are necessary in some way, shape, form, or another for great leaders to be great leaders, right? Because people love authenticity. People love people who are real, and you're very real, and that's very beautiful, and I appreciate that, truly.
Thank you.
Yeah. So tell me, or tell us, Ted, from this sort of awakening, this self, transformational kind of work that you've done, how does that show up in your leadership at work?
So my role at my company right now, which is a forensic psychiatric practice that has a team of 38 forensic experts, and I have an admin team of 4 people that support me in running the operation, and making sure that we are supporting both our clients and our experts to perform at the highest level. And what I know is that all of these people who are incredibly intelligent, incredibly accomplished, um, they can go and do for themselves. They don't need to be part of our group. But what I want to do is to make the experience of being part of our group so pleasant or enriching for them that they want to still kind of get their forensic work through us. And we do that obviously by trying to make the operations as smooth as possible and to support them as much as possible in the connecting them to clients and making sure that they get paid, and managing, all the documents, etc.
Right.
Yeah, all of that. But also trying to create a real team connectedness. So, for example, since we are such a large group of people with incredible experiences, we're doing monthly brown bag lunches where a member of the team will present to the rest of the team, who we give them vouchers for Postmates or Uber and Uber Eats, and they are able to sit there munching on their sandwiches and learn from one another, which is great. We've also launched a podcast. It's called Emotional Damages. And that is the host of that is one of our experts, and we're going through and doing a deep dive on their experiences as well through the podcast, and trying to humanize the practice of forensic psychiatry and forensic psychology. And then, we have events throughout the year where we're, just trying to keep people connected, even though they're spread out across the country. So I don't know. I don't think I answered your question directly.
No, you did, actually, because what you're saying, and for people that are listening, and I've been doing this, I've been doing it for 3 years, and over the last maybe 6 months, interviewing more and more people. And so the themes, when we talk about patterns and themes, bringing in this human element is so critical. And this is really why I do the podcast. And this is why I interview people like you, because I want people to see that this human side, I do a little, when I do a talk, I have a triangle, in one of my slides, and how many people have gone to school and done great things, like you've gone to Harvard and you've done this, and everybody raises their hand, and how many of you have taken this education and put it into some strategic way of making a living and doing your bit? Everybody raises their hand. And then I ask, how many people have done the same amount of effort and energy into the mental side, the psychological side? And then the hands go down, right? And as
Mhm.
you know, this drives everything. The mental side drives everything. Because if you're not good with you, right, then you can't be good at the kind of leader that you have become.
Mhm.
So yes, you did answer my question.
I mean, another answer to the question is that I know my role, I know my lane,
Mm-hmm.
and that's really helpful in terms of knowing when to step in and when to let things kind of ride out. The times that I primarily need to step in is when uh, our clients fall behind on retainer payments,
Mm-hmm.
and they have deadlines, and they want to, and we want to be able to meet their deadlines, and we want to be able to help them in whatever
Mm-hmm.
way we can, but we operate on retainers. So when the retainer is close to depletion and we reach out to them and say, hey, we need some more gas in the tank, and they don't respond and the money runs out, we have to put our pencils down. They don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm not someone that looks for conflict, and I want to be a, very customer service oriented, but it's my job to put on that hat
Yes.
of kind of, I wouldn't call it enforcer, but just kind of like the reality checker.
Yeah.
Say, this is the situation. As you know, this is what our contract says. And unfortunately, this is, you're going to need to put more gas in the tank in order for us to keep moving forward. Here's a link for you to make a credit card payment if you would like, you
Right.
know. Um,
Right. So, which leads me to the next question, because a lot of the work that I'm doing now is around conflict.
mhm,
And so you've sort of given us a little clue, how you manage it, for yourself, again, even from your family of origin. What were the messages about conflict?
So, um, in my family of origin, um, when we were acting up, just kind of generally acting up, there was some raised voices.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of I get triggered these days when somebody raises their voice, but I'm able to say, I don't like that you're speaking to me like that. Can you
Mm-hmm.
please tone it
Mm-hmm.
down? Um, they're, my parents, love them so much. They have been divorced for 30 years, and
Mm-hmm.
their time together needed to come to an end
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
they just weren't great communicators with each other, and
Mm-hmm.
there was a lot of silence, a lot of charged silence, which was uncomfortable.
Sure.
Um, so I didn't really have great models for how
Mm-hmm.
um, to deal with interpersonal conflict.
Mm-hmm.
What I did have a great model for was accountability. My parents were very good at holding me accountable when I acted up in a way that caught their attention.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, um, when I was 13, naughty boy, with my friends, we stole my mom's car and went joyriding.
Ooh,
And
you were.
we came back to the house, and my parents were there, and they called the other boys' parents over, and it was late at night. They were supposed to be staying overnight with us. They had a conversation, and what ended up happening is that they took us in front of a judge, a judge in San Francisco, this very big, booming voice, intimidating person who kind of rattled his saber at us,
Yes.
and it caught my attention, and it made me feel accountable, and it did it in a way that um, wasn't my parents punishing me necessarily,
Mm-hmm.
but we did
Mm-hmm.
get grounded, of course. But I just learned that they were going to hold me
There were
accountable.
consequences. There were
Yeah,
consequences.
there are consequences, but it's like a learning opportunity as
Mm-hmm.
well.
For sure.
Like um, I don't feel any shame about that. It was just kind of like one of those things that happen that
I have three
boys
sons,
do.
Ted.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just one of those things that, you can For example, also on another occasion, I think I come home smelling of pot or something like that,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and they sent me to see a therapist. And so, that type of thing where I feel like they were very good at knowing when they were out of their depth
Mm-hmm.
and calling
Mm-hmm.
in other resources.
Beautiful.
And that's one of the things that was helpful in getting me into recovery.
Mm-hmm.
They finally
Mm-hmm.
saw
Mm-hmm.
um, how sick I was.
Mm-hmm.
And even though they're doctors, this was beyond their pay grade, and they needed to call in other resources to intervene and to get me to the place that
Beautiful.
I needed to be to start healing. So
Yes.
I feel like that is the same thing that I was talking about before, knowing your lane, you know,
Yes. Yes.
but also uh, calling in resources when necessary,
Mm-hmm.
to to influence the outcome or to try to set things going in a better direction.
Beautiful. So the last question that I have to ask you, and I'm enjoying this so much, is what are your biggest challenges, either personally or at work, or you really got some built some really wonderful skills, but what are the challenges that you really keep you up at night still? And
So I have a great life. I have a really great life. I love my job. I work from home. We're a completely virtual company, so I don't have to deal with LA traffic. Um, I have the ability to kind of control my schedule to a certain extent,
hmm
meaning that, when I have to see a sponsee, or I go to chorus practice, or I have a voice teacher, or, I need to take
hmm
my dogs to the vet, I can kind of take time in the middle of the day and then make up that time late at night. I stay up late, so I'll end up
hmm
doing a couple of hours work later in the evening. So all of that seems to flow. There's a lot of flow
hmm
in my life, and I'm appreciative of that. What is difficult for me, and I don't think I'm alone in this, is figuring out how to be a good citizen. I am at a loss as to what actions I should be taking to impact what feels like a completely out of control world around us.
Yeah.
And that, um, and the fact that I have such a harmonious home life
hmm
sometimes makes me feel guilty.
I understand.
I shake that off, but
hmm
it kind of comes over me every,
hmm
um, you know, at least once a day. I can
hmm
flip it into gratitude.
Right.
But the fact is that I'm at a loss. And so I find it challenging, not like I want to take action, but I don't know what action to take other than supporting causes that
Yeah.
are hopefully contributing to, or on the ground helping with, um, helping people. I don't know
I
how to
understand.
better say it without
No, no, no.
being more specific. Um,
You've said a lot. I understand completely. And yes,
so
yes.
I find that to be challenging. Also, another challenge is, my boss is a great man. He founded this forensic psychiatric practice, and he is coming up on 80, but he is the most AI crazy person that I know, and so I really appreciate that about him because he's gotten me more excited about AI. But there are um, a million different ideas that
hmm
he shoots out, and he shoots them to me, and I need to basically help to manage expectations with regard to how to prioritize that versus the other work that I
hmm
have.
Yes.
Um, and so I don't want to seem like a wet blanket, but often I have to do a little reality check, and I'm not always right. I have come around on a couple of different things, but AI is obviously going to become
It's
going to
here.
continue to be
It's here.
more
That's
and
right.
more important and integrated into people's business processes.
hmm
Um, I have personally found that it's great for helping me to become more efficient at kind of regular tasks. Um,
hmm
what I have noticed though is that it kind of wants to please you. So on a couple of occasions, I've asked for um, documentation or proof of something that
hmm
a position that I was taking. and it hallucinated quotations. And I'm really glad that I'm as detail oriented as I am. That I'm like, oh, okay, what page in this document that
Right,
in this
right.
book that you're talking about? Actually, you are right. That 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 book is out of print, and I don't know what's written in it. So, I mean, I find it's not something that like keeps me up at night
Yeah,
necessarily,
yeah.
but I do want to honor uh, his enthusiasm
Mhm.
while also making sure that I'm not being distracted from what I need to do in order to make the company
Yes,
successful.
yes, yes, yes. Well, we could go on a lot of these subjects. All really, really interesting. And I thank you so much, really, for your time, for your authenticity, for the work that you're doing, and for the, honestly, the angst that you feel. Because if we don't feel it, we're not moved to action,
Yep.
right? If we become complacent, um, then we don't pay attention.
Well, not to extend this too long,
That's
but
okay.
being African American, being gay, and you know, coming from those communities, I don't feel um, either represented, or I feel unsafe in
Mhm,
certain
mhm.
ways, or I feel that my community is unsafe. I'm very privileged, so
Yes.
I have resources,
Hmm.
but I feel very almost heartbroken about
Yeah.
some of the things that are happening in our country, and the way that people are like the lack of empathy, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
radical lack of empathy.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't, I have to feel that, I don't want to
Hmm.
avoid it, but I wish, again, the action that needs to be taken has not revealed itself yet. So
Okay.
I'm hoping that it
So
will.
I hope that we will continue this conversation
Yeah.
because I think there's a lot of people who are feeling the same thing, whatever their communities are.
Hmm.
Um, and so we need to come up with some answers.
Hmm.
We do. We do. So we will continue, Ted. And how can people get in touch with you?
You can email me at ted@fpamed.com. That's Forensic Psychiatric Associates med.com. And you can find me on LinkedIn, Ted Collins.
Soup. And we will have all your things when we put this out for you. And again, thank you for your time and your thoughtfulness. I really, really, really appreciate it.
Great speaking with you.